So I think we can go ahead and get started here. So good evening, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the Halifax Finance Committee meeting to order. It is 6:02 p.m. Today is Monday, March 4th. In attendance from the Finance Committee is Cheryl Zerla-Burke, Bill Smith, Jim Walters, Frank Johnston, EJ Bryan, and myself, Todd Dargy. Absent is Michael Bennett. So the first order of business, as always, is the acceptance of the Finance Committee meeting minutes from the previous session, which was February 20th. I know those minutes were disseminated over the weekend. Has everyone had a chance to review those? I know there's quite a bit of material in there. Any questions, comments, concerns, or does anyone need more time going through them? Or
No, I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm all set.
everybody good?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hearing no comments, I guess then would somebody like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 20th?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote. Jim?
Yes, on meeting minutes from February 20th.
Frank?
Yes, meeting minutes, February 20th, 2024.
EJ?
Abstain.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you were absent that one on that meeting. Sorry about that. We'll mark you as abstained. Thank you for that. Cheryl?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, so I guess, so first up then is, I see Bill's on the line. So Bill, if you could take us through the water department budget, and then Cody, are you going to share your screen, I guess, as usual?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Where would you like me to start? I have let me see. Superintendent's salary is 92,565, which I believe is the new scale for the updated compensation package.
Yeah, so we can skip over the compensation because that's already been covered through different avenue. We're just really looking at your increases in your like your expenses and such, and so any movement there. So I guess we can just give a moment for Cody to pull up the sheet, and then we can kind of through.
All right. Can everyone see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So Bill, whenever, I'm under supply, water supply.
So like electricity here, Bill, is the first item.
Yep. That stuff is, I think that's kind of beyond our control with the electricity. I think we made a change in there in the meeting due to the rates that we don't know what they're going to be set at. The testing is probably about the same because the lab kind of sets that, and then they all have an increased rate since COVID. They've all added all kinds of stuff, and we did some extra iron and manganese testing this year, and it's kind of continuing into next year. Same with the chemicals. The chemicals, I just got an email today that the bid process for that's going to start again because we're in that South Shore Chemical Collaborative with a bunch of other towns, and they just send out the bids, and it's like 20 towns I think that bid on that. And the uniform money is just the money that's in the wage and personnel for my uniforms, and that's it.
What about the 55,000 and other expenses?
Yeah. I think we figured that into I don't know if that's the overtime.
No, this is just this is under your expense budget.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like that's a 15,000 increase from last year, but I do see in 21-22 was 57, so it's definitely been fluctuating.
It's level funded from what town meeting, what we voted last year.
Yeah.
But the actual is obviously more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I'm actually not even sure what the extra other expenses are. But I have a question on purchasing the mini excavator from Highway, because that just came up a couple of weeks ago. Steve actually just sent me the appraisal quote from the equipment place for 25,000. Would that go in the budget too?
Nope, that would be a capital request through
That's
those
capital,
capital
okay.
forms.
So
Yeah,
we don't
if
have
you-
to worry about it with this then? Okay.
Not for this, but you do want to get that in because we're
Yep.
wrapping up the capital process. So if you get that in this week, we can include it.
Okay, yeah, I can get that in tomorrow.
Cody, what about carrying expenses to service that that machinery?
Yeah, Bill, if you anticipate there being expenses beyond what your budget can absorb, you'll need to reflect that in your operating budget request. That's a good point, EJ.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how often it's going to be used, because right now we just borrow it from them when we get leaks and stuff, but it'd be nice to just have it and not have to worry about scheduling when they're using it and when they're not, and if we can get it and stuff. But I can figure in maintenance with that.
Yeah, maybe it'd be good if you can just take a look at the operating expenses and just, let us know, I guess. You can come back to us on what's, combined in there, and then, through that, just, maybe the assessment, TJ's point, whether or not that needs to increase, or if there's room in there to just, absorb, I guess, the maintenance costs that we expect, which is obviously a guesstimate, but.
Okay.
I don't think they'll have a
That might be able to get squeezed in with the equipment. I mean, with the vehicle, vehicle expense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a separate line item, I guess.
Because, I mean,
So,
most of our trucks are fairly new. I think the oldest might be 2017. What's the next one we got?
Vehicle maintenance, you don't have any changes there.
Yeah, no changes with that one.
Water meters.
The water meters, that one's, I think, level funded from last year, because we've just been trying to replace the old water meters. We actually, since I've been here, we found out that people are removing the outside readers off their houses if they side the house, or if somebody does any kind of work on the outside of the house. They end up taking the readers off. We end up estimating the bill. And when you actually look at the meter, we find out that we've been underestimating, and then the people are having a fit that, they get this $1,000 bill. The new meters are nice. With the new program we're going to get, the homeowner can actually go into the cloud and look up their own water readings, so they can see how much water they use on a daily basis and stuff. It's probably going to cut down on a lot of people complaining about a high water bill.
The next one is tower/well maintenance bill. Looks like there was a reduction here.
Yep, that's because we just changed out one of the well pumps. Is brand new, so I'm hoping we won't need any maintenance with that one. We've been pretty good with cleaning the water tank. We did that last year. Since the first year I got here, it was kind of expensive because it hadn't been done in a while. So we're trying to stay on a 2 or 3 year plan, so it's not as much to clean out the iron and manganese that's in the tank. And with all these upgrades, we're hoping that the maintenance inside the plants will be a reduction there too. Because, with all the money that we're spending now on upgrading all the other stuff, all the outdated stuff.
And then let's see, gas and oil, you had a slight increase, due to fluctuating gas and oil prices.
Yep, that's what I think we figured was. We have no control over that one.
Legal fees, did you not? I don't think you put in a request for legal fees this year. Last year, you guys requested 1,500.
Yeah, I don't think this year we did because I don't think we needed any legal fees last year either.
Yeah.
I think it was just basically level funded all of those things.
Retirement, this is a number Sandy and I estimate at this point. We work to get the exact number, but this is the estimate that based off of our overall increase by Plymouth County retirement.
Right, and remember that water puts in 75,000 towards the funding of it originally during town meeting. And then this 38 is additional, so.
And then the same with the insurance, we actually bill. So once we get a breakdown of our insurance, we will then ultimately send a bill over to the water department. So they're paying for their share. And so this, yeah, you can see it's health, dental, life insurance, and then property insurance, workers' comp. So we haven't gotten our health insurance increase, or actually we did get our property insurance increase, but we think the 60,000 here should be sufficient.
And Cody, that covers the Medicare as well and the workers' compensation, or?
Yes.
No.
Yep.
Separate amount.
So the 60,000's all in with all of the different insurances?
It is, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that is it for Bill's budget here. Bill, is the other, I'm just thinking, that other expenses, the 55,000, is that if we have to purchase water from Brockton?
It could be. If it is, it might be a little low. I don't know how much I got to figure out how much we've already used from Brockton just in the week or so that we've been on Brockton water. We've been running the well, trying to keep the well running. I mean, Richmond Park won't keep up with what the needs are for the town, and it won't fill that tank. So we're trying to run it like, I think it's maybe 12 to 15 hours a day, so that we don't overdo it running just one well. And then with the filters, we don't want to overload the filters with iron and manganese either, and run into an issue there where we have to regenerate them and then everything's down for 2 days. But I'm gonna have to look into just what we use, and I think we've used like 200 and something thousand gallons maybe from Brockton already. And I think the cost they gave us was like $3.65 1,000 gallons, I think. So that one might be a little low, depending on how fast they can get Y Camp up and running.
How long do we anticipate being on Brockton's water?
At least until May, when the estimated startup for Y Camp is, and then after that, it'll just depend on how much the Y Camp can keep up with keeping the tank full.
So do we know the monthly burn rate of, see, we've got March, April, May, that's 3 months.
We've only been on it so far for, I think, 2 weeks. So we haven't had a full month, and I read the meters the other day, but I didn't calculate the numbers yet. I thought it was around 250, maybe 300,000
That's
cubic
2
gallons.
weeks, so we're talking 500,000 a month, so we're talking another 1.5 million gallons.
Probably, yep.
And it's at 365 per thousand?
Yep.
A lot of water.
I don't know if 55 is enough there, Cody.
Well, that's an issue we already are going to have, though, because that's this year's budget. So yeah, that's something we'll have to handle whether the water department has their reserve fund or, some line item transfers as we progress through this year, but
Yeah,
adjusting this for next year, if we need to, we certainly can, but that's not going to help us for this year, what we're running
yeah,
into right now.
yeah, that's true. So that's gonna hit us this year. And Bill, do we anticipate next year's budget having to go back on Brockton again?
No, once these upgrades are done, we won't need Brockton water anymore. It's just because Richmond Park, the wells at Richmond Park only put out about 250 gallons a minute, and that's not enough to fill a tank. I can get maybe 2 feet of water in the tank after midnight, but anything during the day with those wells running, it just maintains what's going out into people's houses. The tank level doesn't get any higher. If it's at 30 feet, it stays at 30 feet all day.
Yeah, so we should be operational in fiscal year 25, what you're saying with the new system.
Yeah, they have the projected date is November, so by November we should be all done and off of any Brockton water we've been using. I'm actually hoping that when the Y Camp goes back online that we don't need Brockton's water, because Y Camp puts out about 500 or 600 gallons a minute. So I'm hoping that by May we're off Brockton water.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well,
All right, any other questions from anyone?
Yeah, actually, I do have a question, Todd. Thanks. Bill or Cody, either one of you, what's been the run rate for the electricity so far? Because if I'm looking at the correct status report from the end of January, the water department has spent $40,000 in the first 7 months of this year. So I would anticipate a run rate of around 5,500 to 5,800 for the balance, which would leave, which would probably get you close to what you have here.
I think,
1,000.
I think, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, some of the upgrades are going to draw more power with some of the things that we're doing. Is that right, Bill?
I actually think some of the upgrades, because they're changing, they're getting rid of a few things, some stuff that's really outdated in the wells. And we're going to have VFDs that are going to control the well pumps. And those, I believe are supposed to use less electricity. So
the opposite of what I said.
Yeah, I think that's what they do is they start up a little slower, and they're supposed to be better than on electricity use.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know what we could do about it now. And
well, no, that's really not the question, Bill, and I appreciate the insight. So if we're anticipating the improvements to lower the electricity consumption of the town, why are we increasing the request?
I think just to be safe, Jim, because if you look at the actuals in the past, 70,000, 73, and our rates have gone up since then. Part of the reason why we're running a little bit lower is some of that's been offline. So one of the wells was offline earlier in the year for cleaning. And then, we just brought the other well offline for the upgrades that they're doing. So I think it was just so we're safe, so we're not going back over, because we know there was an increase compared to the past few fiscal years in the rate.
Okay. And we're anticipating the chemicals to be a lower cost than what they were the year before?
No, I think the chemicals are going to be about the same. Actually, the chemicals will be, I think I bumped that one up a little bit because last year we didn't have sodium bisulfite.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been doing it this year. And with the upgrades, they're going to switch over. We should be using less chlorine because part of the upgrades is doing post-chlorination and then pre-chlorination, which is supposed to be less than the amount of chlorine going into the backwash for that EPA order. So there's a chance that when they switch over to that, that the
Mhm.
chemicals might be less.
Okay. So in 2022 to 2023, it was 59,970, right? 50970. Is that correct?
That's what I'm looking at.
Yep.
And we approved 35,000 in town meeting last year for this fiscal year. Right?
Right.
Looks like.
I'm reading that right?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct.
2311.54 as of the end of January. So I don't have February or, obviously.
What was the number for this year so far, Jim?
Well, in the budget status report that I have, 2311.34 for chemicals.
And that was at the end of July?
January. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'd say 35,000 isn't enough.
Right. Just my input. You guys are welcome to do what you want, but I think that would be something we would want to make sure we have enough of with some of the water challenges that we're running into.
Yeah, I think we might have changed that just a little bit because with the Y camp down for 2 months, we won't be putting any chemicals in there. And then when Richmond Park goes down, there
Okay.
won't be anything going, and that one's going to take the longest.
Sure.
So I mean, maybe that's why we figured that in there. And the Y camp doesn't use as much as Richmond Park does. Richmond Park uses most of the chemicals. So when that goes down for the 4 months or even longer, that's supposed to be down.
Okay. And you
Hopefully we won't.
anticipate that running into next fiscal year?
With the way the construction's been going on, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised, but I'm hoping they say it's supposed to be done in November. So I'm hoping,
Okay.
I mean, nothing's gone the way it's supposed to gone.
Well, it never does it?
Yeah. So, nope.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate the time.
So, Cody, on the changes that you just made, you brought that total up a little,
Yeah, so, yeah.
5,000?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, Bill, he just adjusted your electricity to 90 instead of the 95. So he brought it down 5,000, but then he adjusted your chemicals up to 45 from the 35. So what it does to your bottom line on the supply is it brings you up to 220,625. That sound all right to you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think we still have the open question though, right, on the other expenses, if we can just get confirmation on the
Right.
details
So
behind it.
the other expenses for water is everything. It's their Comcast, which is their networking. It's their dues. It's every other expense that the water department has basically goes into other expenses. They used to just have one line in there, and they've split out the electricity, the testing, the chemicals, and the uniform. But the other expenses, if you look at the history, so in 2021, it was 60,000. In 2022, it was 57. Last year, it was only 40. But what they're estimating is 55, which is pretty much in line with what they've been spending.
Does that include the water? Because if the purchase of water is not in there, then where is it?
No. I think those other expenses is the fittings and everything else that we need for new services and service boxes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So where's the water?
So the water that they're purchasing, is that part, Bill, would that be part of the project? Because was it figured into the price of the project?
I think when we discussed putting in for more than what the project was, I think we were figuring in any cost of purchasing the water.
So I think that the price of the water is going to be coming under the article for the rehab of the 2 plants.
So we don't budget to purchase water from Brockton at all? Like what if our wells unexpectedly, like when we had to clean our wells, Or unexpectedly, if a well goes down, we have to purchase water. How do we budget for that?
We don't have to purchase all the time. Since I've been here, we haven't. I don't think we've purchased water since 2015 when they redid the tank, when they painted the inside of the tank. We can run as long as, I mean, if all 4 wells don't go down, we'll be able to supply water. There's been times where Richmond Park's been down and Y Camp's handled everything, or one well's been down at Y Camp and the other one's been working. But since I've been here, there hasn't been a time where none of the wells have been running.
Right. Purchasing the water from Brockton is not something that happens often. The only other time I remember having to do it was when they were redoing the tank.
So to be clear, there's no money in here to purchase water.
No.
I don't think so, no.
Mm-mm.
Is there money in this current fiscal year's budget to purchase water? Because if not, where's that coming from?
It's coming from the article. When
As
we
part of
set
the
up,
construction.
right, as when we set up the article for rehabbing the plants and the expenses. that
Okay.
would go with that.
And that article only covered last year, I guess, or is there an element for next year in that? Yeah,
No,
so,
the article is for the whole project, from
Yeah,
start
okay.
to finish.
yeah.
So the money goes in and it stays in there.
And that
It doesn't get
includes
turned
that.
over.
So how much is that in the project? How much is allocated in the project for the purchase of water?
I don't have that figure in front of me.
Okay.
I just got the amount of money that Brockton was going to charge us, but before that,
Right.
we had no
I'm sure-
idea. It's
Right.
hard to estimate because we don't know what the use is going to be. We don't know how much everybody's going to use on a daily basis.
Sure,
Yeah,
but I'm sure you could average it out based on the
Right.
current run rate of water.
Exactly. We got to have a burn rate somewhere.
And I'm sure the engineers probably put it in their proposal because they're the ones who gave us the idea of how much everything was going to cost. They gave us the estimate.
So the extra 600,000 we got a couple of months ago, that includes the money, and there's money in there for water as well, correct? Because it's all part of one fund.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So we've done 2 different town meetings. We appropriated 520,000 from the water retained earnings for these upgrades. And then we got 600,000 in ARPA money for the
Yes.
upgrades. We have permission to borrow up to $3 million if we need to. We do not think we're going to need to borrow close to that, but we wanted to put in the full amount of the estimate of the project.
And to borrow that money, Sandy, and the ARPA money, those are allowable expenses under those funds?
Yes. Yep. Because it's an expense, that's one of the expenses you run into when you're trying to rehab a water system. They knew there'd be times when the well would have to be down and that we would have to do it.
Okay.
So we won't be coming back and asking for money for water.
We do not believe so, no.
Sandy, based on what you guys know, is there any risk out there that could potentially result that you guys are nervous about, or are we confident that the way it is okay?
I'm pretty confident that the way it is okay because the engineers were good at thinking, they're the ones who think through the phases and what we're going to need for each thing. One of the reasons why it was harder to pin down exactly how much this project was going to cost was because the cost of the materials kept going up because of the way the economy's been lately.
Right.
And because the job didn't start when we thought it was going to start. So they're going like gangbusters right now. I haven't heard of, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't heard of any change orders or anything like that going through. I think things are going pretty smoothly.
Yeah, no change orders yet. Seems to be going
So,
smooth.
so I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to handle that. And I'm pretty confident with that.
Okay, so I guess the only potential change here then would be the going back to the maintenance, I guess, on the purchase, right?
Yep.
So I guess is that something you're gonna check with Scott on, I guess, Cody, for like a estimated,
No,
or should we just bump this up slightly, or what do you, I guess?
I don't think we even need to do that.
No? Okay.
They usually don't use, I mean, you can see what the actuals have been in the past, and our equipment really is still in good shape.
Yeah,
So this should easily be able to absorb any additional fuel and minimal repairs to the equipment.
okay. Okay, all right, great. All right, sorry, Cheryl, did you have something?
No,
Oh,
I'm
okay,
good.
sorry. Any other questions for Bill before we let him go?
Nope.
No? Okay, all right. Well, thank you, Bill, for joining and explaining all the details there. We appreciate it. Appreciate your
Thank you.
time.
Thank you.
Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Bill.
Thanks. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
You too.
Thank you. All right, so I guess we can progress then to the building maintenance budget. As mentioned, Scott isn't available tonight, so Bert has joined us along with Cody to kind of take us through this one to the best of their ability.
Let's see, I'll pull up the budget sheets here.
Okay.
They're really, other than the wages, the overall increase, there really actually isn't any. What Scott did do, just to be more reflective of actual practice, is he switched. So right now we have the preventative maintenance and then expense, and really we weren't great about sticking to which was which. So the reality is Scott usually spends more in expenses than we do in preventative maintenance, but it was flip-flopped, the last year previously. So he kind of just flip-flopped the amounts. So you'll see the amount for preventative maintenance is that 58,765, and he's requesting 30,211 for, I'm sorry, 30,211 for preventative maintenance, and then 58,765 for the expense. The total number is the same as it was before. He's just kind of reallocating that through there. So you can, yeah, this is the maintenance. Their committee
So
expense.
it's going down by what, 5,000, I guess then?
It should be the same amount.
What was
Yeah,
it,
it's good.
35 or something?
Yeah, it got absorbed in the other account though.
Yeah, so
So
see,
30.
you'll see here it's 3211. So he's going from 52 to 3211,
Yeah,
and then he goes to 58,765. So if you take the 24 total
Right.
of the two, the two still equal the same amount. It's just a
Okay.
reallocation
gotcha. Okay.
of what he actually anticipates spending for each of those. So there's that change. The oil, we're level funding. Oil's, we made it through last year fine, and oil was more expensive last year. Hopefully the market stabilizes, continues to be stable, somewhat stable. So we got that there. Snow and ice level funded. So you'll see the only thing that increased here are the wages and the reallocation of the preventative maintenance and the expense account.
Pretty simple, I guess, then there. Any questions from anyone?
So the cost of the maintenance expenses include all the town buildings with the exception of the water department and the recycle center, is that correct?
Yes, yep.
So But if work needs to be done on that, Scott does it, and then it gets a reserve fund transfer to pay for it, correct?
Well, they have some things, like the water department has part of that, like expense, if things come up, it may go through there. But the reserve fund transfer this past time it was just such a large expense. It wasn't something that could be absorbed in the budget. So yeah, but Scott still, works and coordinates the projects with with every department.
Does the labor get reimbursed as well?
No, no.
Just the materials cost?
Correct, yeah. Most of, granted, his department definitely does some work over there. Most of it is more coordination on Scott's end, from when we bring in people to do different projects. And then any work that they're doing is usually, it's not significant.
And the oil expense, that's for all the buildings, correct?
It is, yeah. So that is down here at the bottom, in the actual budget sheet. Yeah, so that's heating oil for all buildings.
Including the enterprise buildings, i.e. the water and the,
No, we don't heat them with oil.
oh, we don't
Nope.
heat the recycle center either?
The recycling center, I'm not sure, but the water department is actually all electric now. They're all on heat pumps over there. I'd have to get back to you on the recycling center.
All right, thank you, Cody. Any other questions for Cody or on the building budget?
Bert, did you have anything? Did I miss anything or anything you wanted to state?
No, I think everything was covered. I don't have anything else to add. Scott's very efficient. He's got it broken down really well.
Okay, all right, well, it sounds like we're good here. Bert, thanks again for joining. You're free to stay if you want, but if you'd like to drop, feel free to do so.
Great, thank you. We'll see you.
Yep, take care. Okay, great. So I think, Cody, that brings us through all of the budgets, right? Obviously, with the caveat being the school, right?
We have some miscellaneous ones here, and I think that was on the agenda tonight to just go through some of the smaller departments that we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure, let's do that.
So this isn't a smaller one, this is a bigger one, but the recycling center, when Steve came in, we did not have him discuss that, but you'll see, again, it's all actually the request was to decrease the trash collection disposal. My recommendation would be, I don't think we should really decrease it that much. I do think it'll probably come in around there, but we're still really looking at the trends because we haven't even been a year in the new program. So I wouldn't be comfortable reducing it by that amount yet. Our tipping fee does go up another $5 a ton on July 1st, and then our collection costs go up a little bit on July 1st too. So I think I had decreased it, let's see, $6,000, but I think that would be my recommendation there. The recycling center wages, again, that's based on, the 2% COLA, their expense, their level funding, recycling center expense. There was actually a decrease, and part of that had to do with What did I want? Okay, yeah, so I'm sorry, there was an increase in the office, the expenses in the office. A little over $1,000 increase they were looking for. And Sue does a really nice job of breaking it up. It's actually mostly because the postage for the trash bills, because they're an enterprise fund, we want to make sure that they are covering their costs. So we have started basically making sure that they're paying for their postage for the bills going out. And then we also have the two bills now. Before we just had the annual recycling fee that went out, and now we send out two bills for the trash and recycling. So that's the reason really for the increase there. And then Sue breaks everything else down. Internet, you can see a $60 increase.
Okay.
The decrease in the center expense was hauling. So we actually, as part of our contract with Allstate, they actually are hauling costs less money than it used to. So we're able to adjust this down. And so this is, they'll pull the containers out and bring them to the landfill or wherever they need to be for us. And that's drastically reduced our prices there.
Almost 50%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hazardous waste day or hazardous waste. I'm sorry. This includes the hazardous waste day budgeted at 10,000, and then just all the other hazardous waste materials. And you can see there's a $50 decrease actually.
Where's our labor in here for our employees? Is that included in just the general labor numbers?
For the employees of the center?
Yeah, when it's hazardous waste day.
Oh, yeah, that would just be included in what we already budget for them. The hazardous waste day line item is for the vendor that we have come in.
Yeah, so we don't include our labor in those numbers.
No, we do not. No.
For that program.
Correct. No, because we're paying the labor out of we've already budgeted for that in our wages. And then you just have the trash collection disposal, which is, the majority of the budget. Like I said, you can see there was a
62.
a recommended decrease, but I think we should keep it, at that like 359 mark just to be safe.
Yeah.
They're all a bunch of worksheets, but.
So Cody, aside from the reduction in, I think it was hauling, I think that's the reduction that we saw.
Correct.
What are the other significant impacts, if any, that we're seeing as a result of the new program that you guys just rolled out this past year?
Yeah, well, what we're seeing is, DEP and kind of what we were cautioned with is, well, you're going to see your trash, right? Your solid waste numbers are going to skyrocket because now it's not a pay as you throw, it's the bins. And I get reports weekly. Our trash actually hasn't gone up that much. We're staying pretty level with what we were with the pay as you throw, which is great. So our costs have actually come down compared to what we were paying for the pay as you throw. So it's been good. We really haven't seen too many impacts at this point based on the data that we have so far. But it's always good to have a full year's worth of data or almost a full year's worth of data that we can analyze. But at this point, yeah, things have been pretty good. The vendor we're using is excellent. They have been a great partner. And costs are kind of coming in right around where we expected them.
Good.
Okay, was that it, Cody, for the miscellaneous expenses?
That was Edge. Oh,
Yeah.
no, that was it for the recycling. We do have a few more miscellaneous.
Well, I guess before we move off of that, any other questions for Cody on the recycling?
No.
No? Okay. All right, so yeah, Cody, if you want to jump to.
So the next one is health. Again, you have the clerical wages. The expense, Bob requested to level fund, in kind of reviewing the budget and looking for cuts where we could. I took $2,500 out. We had initially put some money in for the beaver remediation.
Yeah.
So we left 2,500 in for beaver remediation and then took out 2,500 with the thought being is if we have a serious issue where we're gonna have to go for beavers where it's gonna be, you know, $10,000 or $15,000, we're probably gonna need a reserve fund transfer anyways. So it makes sense to just kind of leave this up here.
So
Landfill.
do you have it like, how are the efforts, I guess, in the remediation going so far? I guess, do we have any indication of that or?
So we don't have to do anything unless we have an issue, right? If there's an issue and it's on our property, then we have to pay to remediate the beaver.
Okay, because I thought last time there was an issue that we were trying to address at the time. No, it was just to reserve the funds?
There was an issue, but it wasn't on our property. It was abutting our
Okay.
property. So Bob was just thinking ahead. If we did ever have an issue on our property, then it's something we would need to remediate.
Okay.
So, you know, we left 2,500 in there. And it's my understanding from speaking with him is this beaver remediation is so across the board. You may have an issue where it costs $1,000 to remediate. You may have an issue where it's a serious issue and it costs $15,000 to remediate. So leaving in something I think is smart, but you know, in the idea of just the overall budget, we reduced. I recommend reducing it by the 2,500 there. And then everything else under his is level funded. Let's see, the inspector of animals. This is one of those unclassified positions that we didn't address this past year. So what we're doing with those, or my recommendation for those, is basically a 2% for fiscal 24 and a 2% for fiscal 25. So this is just it's technically 4% increase over fiscal 24's numbers because we never gave a COLA or anything in fiscal 24. So if you adjust for those two things, you get that 3421. And that's it for health.
Is this the second or third year of the engineering contract, Cody?
This is year 2.
Year 2, we have 1 year left of the 3-year contract, correct?
Yes. Any other questions?
Is there an option for renewal on that contract, Cody, or is it how does the term end?
No, so we'll have to go back out for a bid. So
Okay.
sometime early next fiscal year, so early fiscal 26, we will issue some sort of RFQ, potentially, depending on what the terms are. Engineering is exempt from Mass 30B procurement laws, but sometimes it's good to go out and just get competitive quotes to keep it competitive. So we'll start that process early in fiscal 26.
Okay.
We had talked previously, Cody, also about having to do some engineering associated with the landfill erosion there. Is there any money in here for that?
There isn't, because we got a very generous donation from McDonald Industries to cover all of the engineering that needs to be done.
Just the engineering, no repairs?
At this time, it's just the engineering, yes. But that would be a capital request for further repairs. We just have no clue what that number is or what it's going to be. A lot of it may be able to be done in-house with our own crew. We just need that plan to figure out what exactly needs to be done. And I also think McDonald Industries has expressed their support, in expertise and financial. So there may be further area for them to provide donations if needed.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Cody on the health section? No?
The next one is veterans. So the agent salary, this is again one of those, that's a stipend position. This is one of those that is unclassified. We did include the position in the compensation classification study, but it's tough because, the position as it stands in Halifax is a stipend position. And the hours vary. So I've talked to Steve kind of based on the hours that he's putting in, Steve's our current veterans agent. And we came up with, we think the 17,000, or at least that would be my recommendation. I think Steve was looking for a little bit more than that right now. But I think considering it's still a stipend position, if we start going much more than that, then we're going to look at making it a position, like an actual hourly position where they're in office and have set, and Steve's in office, so I don't mean that he's not in the office, but more of just not a stipend position. If we're going to go beyond that, would be my recommendation. His veterans expense, this is no, so training. So he's required by the state to attend trainings. You can see he kind of goes into a detailed synopsis here. We previously hadn't budgeted for that in the past, but it's something that, the veterans agent has to go to. So we added that $1,000 in there for the trainings. And you can see Steve kind of gave a synopsis in here. And then the annual dues for that veteran spec is $450.
And so would that be inclusive, Cody, of like mileage and?
Yeah, that would cover,
okay.
The training would cover everything, his lodging as needed, reimbursements, and then the actual cost of the, I believe one of them is actually free. It's just you'd have to pay for the lodging and other expenses of it. So that was the reason for the increase there. And then just the other component of his budget is the benefits. So what Steve does is he goes through, he calculates what the benefits are anticipated to be next year based off of the current the individuals receiving those. And then we also always budget for adding a few more because there could be additions throughout the year. So usually comes in under this, but we want to make sure we have enough to fund the benefits if we get additional signups.
Mhm.
Where's his money for his events?
So that would be under, what is it, patriotic celebrations.
That which got it under patriotic?
Mhm.
Patriotic celebrate, $300.
Is that enough money?
Well, they usually are funded through donations, Frank, is how most of the things are funded. And that's just what we've done in the past was the 300.
But I know he does puts a lot into the celebrations, Every time I've been around it, it's been.
He does a great job.
Right, exactly. And just seems like $300 but most of that's coming from donations.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yep.
And that include the banners, the soldiers' banners that
was all donations, actually.
that was all donation money.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions on any of the veterans things?
No.
Okay. The next one, youth and rec. So again, the wages here, those are unclassified positions. We didn't adjust those last year. So I just took 4%, 2% for fiscal 24, 2% for fiscal 25, adjusted them. And you'll see that amount here. I didn't hear anything from youth and rec. So my recommendation would be to level fund the expense accounts. And the director, same thing, that's a wage. So we didn't touch that last year. So adjust that accordingly with the 4%. The parks wages. So this is, you may recall, this was new to last year's budget, where the parks had requested that we put someone down at the Lincoln Street beach. So we didn't end up hiring anyone last year, but we actually posted the job today and anticipate hiring someone this year for that on the weekends from basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. So that's what this is in here for them. And the same thing, I just adjusted that by 4%. Their expense, we level funded. So before I go on to anything else, any questions on any of the youth and rec or parks items.
On the parks, they got some money last year to buy new buoys and things of that nature. Did they do that, or are they including a little money in this year to do that, or what are they doing down there?
They are working on it. I've met with a couple of their members to come up with a game plan. They have some work going on down there. And then we're actually looking to have a joint meeting, the Board of Selectmen and them on March 12th, just to make sure that we're moving forward.
Yeah.
And really doing those things down there. They're supposed to be ordering some signs. I know Chief Shaws had helped them with that. They have an engineer coming in to help them with kind of like a site plan of where they should put these signs and where they should do things. They were going to hire a landscaper to come down and clean up kind of all that overgrown brush, but Steve and his new equipment there he got was actually able to come in and do it all, and we didn't have to hire a landscaper. That new excavator with the
with the brush hog on it.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
we are making progress down there.
Yeah, so they're gonna invest some money in the buoys to try to control some of that issues they've been having over there.
I'm not sure specifics, to be honest with you, Frank. I just know that there are plans to make investments as needed in signage and things at the beach. When that's with the state earmark money.
Right. That they split with the rec department.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Any other questions on the any of the parks or youth and rec?
Mm.
Cable television, this is really serves as like a pass-through. So our cable revenues from our Comcast licensing contract, whatever we take in is then passed off to Area 58. They provide the local cable access to us. So we budget what we estimate it to be, and then that money gets sent out to Area 58. So we're level funding that this year. You have the patriotic celebrations, which we discussed. The historical commission, this pays for predominantly their electricity, right, Sandy?
You're on mute, Miss Sandy.
I know. I was having trouble with getting the cursor in the right spot. Yeah, that's all their electricity. They really don't have many other expenses than that right now.
The historical district commission, this is if they need to have a meeting and send out post like public hearing notices or legal ads. So we just budget the $450. It was $446 last year. Honestly, this was more just me wanting round numbers to putting it up to $450.
What about down at the blacksmith shop down there, Cody? I know they had some issues with the structure down there. Who's covering those expenses?
Well, that would be a capital expense if it comes forward. We are waiting for them to provide us with some proposals so we can pursue either capital funding, or there may be opportunity for ARPA funding, but they're still working on the proposals.
Okay.
But that wouldn't be reflected in the operating budget.
So they don't have any building maintenance expenses in their budgets.
No,
day to
just
day, type expenses.
No, that's really covered through municipal school building maintenance, which again and that's one of the reasons that budget is tight. You look at it, $50,000 isn't a lot considering all of the all the buildings we have and all the property we have. And you take into account all the, we have quite a few historic buildings as well. But that's included in that. Holidays in Halifax, again, we level funded that. Chief Shaws, to see.
Yeah, I just have a question, Cody. Is that amount reflective of the police and fire details, or are we going to hope for donations? I believe this year, or this past the both holiday on Halifax and the fireworks?
So that's typically that's used, it can be used for that, where you receive donations for the events. And then, in the budgets where possible, we try to absorb some of it. It's obviously become more difficult in recent years as kind of our budgets get tighter, but it's, that can be used for that, definitely.
What's the last handout?
And same thing with the fireworks, and these, again, this is kind of to cover some of the associated cost, or just the details like the chief mentioned, because most of the events themselves are all funded through donations. And like the fireworks, we had a 4 or 5 year commitment from one of the marijuana dispensaries to fund the actual cost of the fireworks. And then this past year we received 2 donations, one from one of the marijuana dispensaries and one from McDonald Industries for the holidays in Halifax, which we're able to roll over, and we'll use it again for next year. So we're in good shape with the actual events for both of those. And then the beautification committee, they just have an expense. This could be for things related to their cleanup, if they were to hold meetings, so on and so forth, for their types of different events that they have. They have walks, they may have posters and things like that they'll create. And that's level funded at the 500. We have not budgeted anything for the agricultural commission. We haven't in years. Website expense, we're getting rid of that line item, and that's an IT expense. That's just the hosting fee we pay to our website, Civic Plus. So that really should just be in our IT budget. And then the same with the music rights. We've budgeted this separately, but again, it's an IT expense. So when we have those events, we can use that music. So just trying to clean things up here, and we included that in the IT budget, the expense budget.
So that website expense, Cody, is that line in itself being moved to fall under IT, or is it how are the funds going to get moved away from here?
So we already reallocated it, so we're not budgeting anything for this year. And then I've added the amount into the IT expense budget.
Okay, and so, but I guess sorry, I know it's not making sense the way I just framed that.
That's okay.
So the website expense, is there a specific line that's moving to IT, or is it just being captured somewhere else within that budget?
It's being captured within the IT expense budget. We just approve we approve an IT expense line, and so we just increased that a little bit more this year to cover this. And then I'm showing this here just for purposes so you guys can see that we're not budgeting for it. We have in the past, and then we'll get rid of this completely, like a town meeting. And then going forward, we just won't have this line item. It won't exist anymore.
Okay. Thanks.
We can go. So schools, again, we're still waiting on the schools. Jim and I and Sandy had a interesting meeting with them today, as Jim would say. So they're supposed to come in on the 18th, I think it is. And the 3 of us are meeting with them again next week, hopefully get some updated figures. So you can kind of ignore what's here. We'll get to that. Emergency management, we already discussed. Building inspector wages, again, this is wage. One of the things that the new building commissioner has requested is to bring back the assistant inspector wages. So we're not going to pay them $1,000 a year. This is if our inspector, or our commissioner, I'm sorry, is out on vacation or unavailable for an inspection. We have an agreement, or we're working on an agreement with Bridgewater, where they'll come over and do an inspection for us or sign a permit for us. So we just want to budget $1,000 in there for that if it's needed. I don't anticipate us using that full $1,000, but it's good to have in there because there's certain permits that can't wait if our commissioner is out. So that was one of his requests. And then his expense budget, it's actually a small decrease, but part of it is because new code books, we expect new code books to come out sometime this summer. We'll have to purchase those through his expense budget. Sealer of weights and measures, again, this is one of those unclassified positions, so I did the 4%. And then their expense, I just level funded. Animal control, Chief Shaws has been working with the vendor to Precision Wildlife to get an updated proposal. So they're supposed to have something to us hopefully this week. Again, you can see what my number is preliminarily is I think a 3% increase. But we're going to have to see what their proposal looks like. If it's much more than that, we're going to look at some alternative options.
Yeah, makes sense. Chief, did you have a question, I guess, or is your hand just up from last time, or just want to make sure you didn't have any additional?
Oh no, that was from last time. I thought it went back down again without, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, great, sure, thanks.
Dispatch services, so our contract with them is up this year. So we'll need to negotiate a new contract. They've had some turnover there, so they've been waiting for their new director to get in place to start those negotiations. But Chief Shaws has spoken with them, and they're planning to, the request will be the same for this year. So that 200,000 number is an accurate number, which is good news for us.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we have IT. So IT wages, again, that's in there. That's with the 2% COLA. So the 160,000 here, it's an increase from last year. About 5,000 of that is absorbing the website expense and the music rights license there. And then the remainder of it is we updated our financial system. So we're going through that process right now. With that, our annual fee increased a little bit. So that's inclusive in here. And then we also were going to online licensing and permitting. The first year has been paid for by a grant through the state, but we will have to cover that going forward. So there's a couple months of that in here as well. And then you can expect this will go up again in fiscal 26 to cover the full cost of the licensing and permitting. But I will note, we are working, Ed, our new building commissioner, has been doing a great job. He's been putting a fee analysis together. So we will be presenting a revised fee schedule for adoption for the Board of Selectmen prior to July 1st. And we are confident that with the new fee schedule, we'll be able to cover what we bring in additional revenue will cover the cost of the online licensing and permitting.
So those new fees should be effective for fiscal 25. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah. So Ed's been putting them together. We're finalizing some things, and then we're going to work on presenting them, get them adopted, and then we want to give the public, notice. So we don't want to spring it on them. Hey, June 25th, effective July 1st, it changes. So we're hopeful sometime in April to get them before the board reviewed and then adopted, and then we'll post something on the website so everyone knows they're coming, and they would be effective July 1st. The assessor salary, this is the elected board members. These are wages. The assessor expense. So this is one where there's a sizable increase. And the reason for this is when I was reviewing the budgets, what I noticed was every year the assessing department puts a capital item forward for town meeting that we fund out of free cash. And it's for basically a cyclical reinspection. But that only gets done every 5 years. So my question was, well, why are we doing, an article every year if it's an every 5-year item? What it turns out is about a little over $14,000 is actually our annual maintenance costs with our assessing software and the system that we use, PK. So if it's an annual operating cost, it really should be in our operating budget. We shouldn't be going and requesting it as a capital item or an article every year. So this increase of about $14,000 is reflective of us putting that in our operating budget because it's an operating expense. It's just the town has never done it that way. It makes me nervous because technically we get to town meeting, that gets denied. Well, now we have an operational problem where we should really include all of our operating costs in our operating budget.
Right.
Were there any questions on that? And then what you will see is every 5 years, a request for It's somewhere in the range of $20,000 to $30,000 for that actual 5-year inspection.
Right.
So
Which is-
Cody, I got a quick question on, is that like a software fee? What does that actual fee cover? Is it for the-
There's a
it's
software.
programming?
There is a software involved, the PK software, but it's also basically access to the consultant. They do a lot
Okay.
of our valuations for various things. So like right now we're negotiating a solar pilot, which is payment in lieu of taxes. So we can give them the information and they can provide us with, hey, this is what your estimated taxes would be, or the estimated value of that would be. So things like that, personal property, they'll help us assess. Yeah, so the consultant services and the software costs, and then as needed, revals, because we do have revals that have to be done every year, but then we have the big one that has to be done every 5 years. So they are overall services to the town.
Okay, and I had one other question on the IT section. Is there anything that's budgeted for us to start taking a look at the town's IT security that we have in place?
Not in this, EJ, but I can tell you the Board of Selectmen did approve some funding out of ARPA, and I have brought in a IT consultant who has done exactly that. And he has issued us a comprehensive network and security analysis report. And I actually have him coming in again in the next couple of weeks to help us make some changes and updates.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think at a bare minimum, we should at least look to get multi-factor in place as soon as possible, because that's all the municipalities and even at the state and federal level, places that are getting hit, it could be avoided by simply having a multi-factor in place.
And Caesar is working on that. We did get a grant. Caesar applied for and got a grant from our insurance agency last year for the little keychain things that have the numbers on them. Yeah, the tokens there. So it's we do have those, and we're working to get those implemented. It's a requirement of our insurance, so we have to do that.
We did start implement. Right now, we're partially implemented. We're about to finish up police, and then moving on to fire, and then boards and committees, and then internally. So we have started. It's just a slow moving process with one person. There's a federal grant that I'm gonna try to. The deadline was very short. Like they announced it 2 weeks ago, and they have a deadline of next week to get implementation, like a grant to help with the implementation of it. I'm gonna try to go for it, but like I said, it's just slow moving with one person.
Yeah. It just food for thought too. You can always engage Microsoft directly. I'm assuming we have some type of interaction with them, given we use Office. You can actually get the multi-factor licenses directly through them. And ease of implementation when you go that route is a lot faster and simplistic than going through the VPN token route. Because the VPN, believe it or not, the VPN token route is actually becoming obsolete now.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we are going to be because we have a variety of systems, and like boards and committee members are set up differently than internal users, and the PD's on a completely different network. They already use MFA with other systems. It's not as easy as activating it from one central spot, because it's not going to work out as easy that way. But for like boards and committee members like yourself and the rest of the finance committee, it will end up being that through Microsoft, and a lot of it will be pretty self-explanatory, and you guys will essentially just self-enroll. It's just a matter of actually initiating the process.
Good idea.
Okay, great. Thanks, Caesar.
You're welcome.
But back to your kind of initial point, EJ, we recognize that's a growing concern, not only for us, but all, businesses, municipalities. So the consultant we've engaged with has been great. We're going to continue to utilize him in areas where he can assist us and provide some of that expanded knowledge and implementation.
Great. That's good to hear.
Cody, is he recommending training for all users? I mean, there's grants out there to have security training.
We did have that. Was it last year or the year before, Caesar? We did the training grant. And then we're
Yeah,
supposed to.
that's also actually we just started the implementation last week.
Yeah.
So I can't give too many details on it, but yes, the training is on its way.
Yep.
That's also a insurance requirement.
Yep.
All right, very good. Any other questions for Cody?
And then conservation wages, the change here is it's not as large of an increase as it looks. What I did was regulatory clerical historically has included our building department, zoning, planning, and conservation. And then this previously was conservation agent. There's a lot of things up in the air right now regarding our conservation department. So our agent recently resigned, and our administrative staff in the department also resigned. So we don't have any staff in the department. And in reviewing this, I think what I'm recommending here is to just make this conservation wages. And if you add the two together, you get that 42,000, the admin and the agent, with the thought that, if we can get an agent in here and give them, say, 32 hours, they can do it all, minus the minutes. We can have a minutes recording secretary do the minutes. And we would be much more beneficial to the community to have an agent, has a little more technical ability here more often than it would be to have, let's say, a 24-hour agent and a 10-hour admin. But that's still a possibility. I just don't know what route it all depends what we get. We've advertised both positions. I've advertised the conservation agent as a 24 to 32-hour week position, depending on, what anyone's interest is and what their availability is. And then we have the admin position posted for 10 to 15 hours a week, but that's been posted for almost a month now. We haven't had a single applicant. So the idea with this is just to have some flexibility of either having an agent at 32 hours instead of 24, or having a combination like we already have now, which is the agent at 24 and then an admin at 10 to 12.
Next.
So we can go over, let's see. So we went over the heating oil, gas and oil for all departments. Steve Hayward had discussed this. I think the 115 would be sufficient, but we can do the 115,868. Again, it's really just me trying to go with even numbers here, or we could round up to 116. But if you look at where we are this year and where we've been the past few years, I do think the 115 would cover us. Telephones, we already went over at the 42,000. OPEB, we try to go up an additional 5,000 every year where the budget can absorb it. But we want to go up at least 1,000. This year is a tight year in the budget. So my recommendation would be to increase it to at least $1,000. Our insurance rates, that 345 is a solid number. I spoke with our insurance company and that will be good there. Medicare, I think that 155 should cover us. Again, that's all based on wages. But I think the 155 is good. I'm not sure about the health insurance versus the group insurance. We the group that we use has a meeting actually on Thursday where they're going to announce the increases. So next meeting I will have a better idea. Again, Sandy kind of put together an estimate, and we have some estimates there, but I think we should hold off really on that because I'm not sure yet. And then Plymouth County Retirement, that's our number there, that 1.83 million. We already received our assessment from them, so.
Okay. Good.
And then let's see these here. So this is our debt. We have the fire suppression system at the elementary school, the roof, and exterior repairs. And then this is that it's like a betterment loan, basically, is what the WPAT 2 is. to help with septics. Any questions on any of those items?
No, Cody.
Do we
So-
anticipate any increase in the debt for next year, Cody? Any large, long-term, issues that we need to get financed or the town needs to get financed?
No, the only thing that we have outstanding is the water department, but that would be under their, that would be funded through through them as an enterprise fund. So nothing for the general fund. And even that, we approved 3 million to borrow, but we're not going to have to borrow. I don't think even close to that 3 million, but nope, nothing else here. The school, we do have a debt exclusion through Silver Lake. That did increase a little bit. That's part of our assessment. That increased $20,000 or $30,000 as just part of the payoff. But again, that's funded through a debt exclusion as well.
Roger that. Thank you.
Cody, real quick on the elementary school, we had talked a little bit about the lead issue over there. Are we putting any money? We got any money set for that here in the budgets or?
So that wouldn't be anything operational, Frank. So we wouldn't account for any of that here. And it's too soon to say anything. I mean, we just don't know. They're doing some retesting over there and working with an expert. They have the state involved as well to see, what is it? What's the issue? How big of an issue? If it is an issue, is this? And if we do start having to do some work, what does that look like? It's just, yeah, I couldn't even begin to say, so I'm not gonna even try to throw a number at it.
Okay.
We're just not in that spot yet. So I will note big picture, without the schools involved, we're looking at a 2.6% increase. And, I think that shows departments have done a nice job of really making sure their budget requests were necessary. And, the town working with the resources that we have. So that's just wanted to give you that big picture. If you take last year's voted budget and then that 260,000 that we approved for the wages, and then you look at the difference between what my recommendations are for this year, it's 2.6%, which most of my recommendations align with what departments are requesting. So I think that's a good number for us. 2.6% is fair. It stays within what I think our parameters, what's financial. It's still a tight year. You guys can see things are tight, but it's feasible.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I mean, I don't know that we're ever not going to have a tight fiscal year, to be honest, right? So, but no, I think this is reasonable.
The big question mark is the schools. It's out there now. They are looking at the potential of a $2 million increase to our overall budget, which 10%. We can't absorb that. We did mention that in our meeting today, that it's just not something that we can absorb. When we look at their trends over the past 10 years, 3% is the average. That's what I budgeted. That's what we can absorb. I let them know that 3% is what we're looking at. They're working to make some cuts, but at this point, they would need to make about $3 million in cuts to Silver Lake's budget in order to align with what we have budgeted for them. So there will definitely be more to come on that. The total cost of education, if you look at, the cost for Halifax, Plimpton, and Kingston, inclusive of Silver Lake, has gone up by 13%, I think it was. So just huge increases in education that we need to work to bring back down.
Cody, what's our confidence level that that's achievable to a degree?
Uh, yeah,
Well said.
yeah, well, one of my main points today, EJ, was just the communication. We need to make sure that we're communicating, and if this is a serious concern, they need to bring us in, or should have brought us in probably a little while ago. If you're looking at that much of a difference, but let's kind of make sure that communication is ongoing. Not to say that it hasn't been there, because Sandy and I have been meeting with the administration regularly every month for the past few months, discussing these things and others. They recognize that they need to make some reductions, that this is not attainable for any of us. All three communities are in the same boat with this.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm not confident that they're gonna make cuts to the level that we expect.
Yeah.
And
So how does that square up, I guess, in the end, if we vote to not recommend the budget, I guess, like what's the final outcome, I guess, of how this all shakes out?
Yeah, I don't want to get into speculation at this point.
Sure, yeah, it's something interesting to.
Yeah, I think without going into too much detail, one of the benefits we have here is we're not alone in this, right? It's not like, the other two communities are saying, okay, this is good, and Halifax is kind of that lone one. So we're all.
I think we're a little more worse off, right, than the other towns in this regard.
No, actually, no. We're all looking at kind of an overall increase of like the 8 to 12, 13%. So I'm
just talking about the ability to absorb that cost, right?
No, none of us can absorb it.
Okay.
Yeah, if it were to go forward none of us could absorb the budget as presented. And that's why the school committee knows that, and they're trying to make some cuts. And they know where we stand. I've provided them a few times of what we can absorb within our budget this year, so they have that information. They're meeting again this week, and then, like I said, myself, Jim, and Sandy are going to meet with the administration again next week. Hopefully, get some of this worked on and get some more feasible numbers here.
And so the tentative plan as of now is to have them in on the 18th to go through the budget?
That is the plan. This based off of what the superintendent told us, they're planning to vote their budget next Thursday.
Yeah.
So they're planning to vote their budget the 14th.
Okay.
And Jim, you're feeling the same way as Cody?
Yeah, there's quite a divide between what the town Halifax can do versus what the school is asking for. So we've asked them to go back and rework their numbers. There's obviously it's education. There's some sacred cows in there that can't be, slaughtered at this point. So there have to be other ways to look at it, and just to dovetail into what Cody said, Kingston has, I think, the largest portion, and so does and Plimpton after that. And, we've got a 32.6% responsibility due to the amount of students that we have, 535 out of 1,600 and some change in students. So they're gonna, it's basically, I guess the reading I got, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, what we got from the superintendent was what was given to her by the school committee. So they didn't really influence. They were merely, it just seemed to me like reporting back what the school committee has given them. So we're sending them back to talk to the school committee and say, this is, Halifax and the other towns, this is not what they can afford to absorb. They have to make some changes at other places.
Amazing. Decorated with diamonds and
we're hoping to hear back from them when we go there next Wednesday with something better than what we got today.
Yeah. Sense. Thanks, Jim, for that. I guess we'll have to wait and see, I guess, how this progresses, but definitely concerning.
And what about, is the elementary school in this discussion of
It's interesting, Frank, because as part of several, one part being the new regional agreement, but also just some things that DESI came in when they looked at us and said, hey, you're not doing this right. You need to do this. You need to change this. So several changes were reflected in this year's budget.
Right.
So from the first glance, it actually looks like our elementary school budget is decreasing. But it's not really decreasing when you look at it a little further in depth. So it's the whole picture is a concern. But we've made them aware of that. They know that. They know where we stand. I gave them, we want to work with them. Like I said, we've had these ongoing discussions. 3% is what we can do. That's not me trying to make them make cuts that are unnecessary. That's what we can do. That's what we'll provide them. And how they allocate it, I mean, that's really up to the school committee and the administration there. But we just need to make sure that we can absorb it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cheryl.
And Kingston met with them as well. Did you guys meet as a group? Or each
No, it was
time?
no. It was just us and the administration.
Right. So that was information they gave us, Cheryl, that they had already met with the other two districts.
And so do we know what the other two districts told them? I mean, we told them what we could absorb, did they?
I'm not sure if they gave an exact number. I just know that they said they can't absorb what's being proposed.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of shock, from the communities, including us, in the large increase. So similar to what we've done in the other towns is, can you go back and rework this and make sure everything's here, make sure everything's accurate? We've been progressive in giving them a number that we can absorb. I think the other communities are in more of a shock stage and not giving them that number because they don't think it can be true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't.
Yeah.
So I don't want to overstep with this request, but I'm curious if it's even allowed. But if they're not ready to go on the 18th, is it appropriate for us as a committee to at least look at their draft to see where they are right now, or is that not appropriate to kind of intercept the process like that?
Yeah, I think as long as it's okay with you, EJ, and everyone else, when I have updated documentation, when they send it over to us prior to our meeting next week, I will share that with you guys, because that will be the most up-to-date information, refined. And then you can certainly start looking at that. I think that when it makes sense at that point, right? Things are still so up in the air. I don't know if it's something that we should really dive into right now, but I think next week, once we get that updated version, that would make sense.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't by any stretch. I did not mean to dive into it. That's Jim's baby to worry about right now. But I think having a glimpse of it just to see where they are, would be insightful.
Sure. I have a presentation I can send you that has kind of the summary on it of what each community is looking at.
Great. Thanks, Cody. And thanks, Jim, for the update on it too.
Yeah, and just to add, I guess, I mean, this is a problem that we face every year, right? The budget comes in at the very last minute, and it's always a scramble to try to digest it and, review, get it approved and all that in advance of the town meeting. So unfortunately, it's just part of the process.
But this seems to be somewhat bigger, Todd.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, it is bigger. And it's just my opinion. The schools need to do a better job, and their liaisons need to do a better job of communicating these issues, if there are any, much earlier in their process than, a couple of months before town meeting.
Right. Exactly. And it sounds like Cody and Sandy have been engaged with them all the way along throughout the year. So
Yeah, we're working to refine the process. Obviously, I came in late to the process last year, but I think it's been even an improvement this year compared to what it's been in the communication. I mean, it seems like last year they kind of just threw a number on us,
right?
Mid-March. So at least there's some cooperation there. And it's no reflection of the administration. They've been great. They really have been great to work with, and they recognize our need there. And I think going forward, it'll only be a better and more collaborative relationship. They recognize our need, and that we can't just keep pushing this off so long. It's such a huge part of our budget. We can't be scrambling here at the last minute.
Yeah. What is it, like 54% of our total budget?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this is significant. Major.
Yeah, it holds us hostage because it's without that figure, it's we can't realistically approve the other pieces of the budget, right? Because we just don't know what the overall impact is. So,
Right.
So all right, so it sounds good for the plan. So the 18th, at least we'll go through something. Hopefully, it'll be more of a definitive final product, I guess. But even if it's somewhat preliminary, just to be able to step through it, I think will be beneficial, certainly. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or concerns or anything else from anyone on that? No. Okay. All right. So I think that takes us through the budget reviews, I guess. Just progressing on the agenda here, I guess the next item we had up. So actually, more bad news, I guess, is although we already know this bad news is that Sandy's going to be departing us, shortly. So we do need to, try to fill her position, obviously. So Cody's in the process of standing up a interview team to kind of address that, right? So, so I just wanted to get the thoughts of, the committee members, if there's anyone that wanted to volunteer to represent the finance committee as part of that interview team in search of the town accountant, replacement.
No, I would.
You'd like to do it, Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. Any other one? Sorry, I can't even speak. Anyone else interested in doing so, or any objections to Cheryl serving in that capacity? No? Okay, I guess maybe we should just do a formal vote, I guess. Would somebody like to make a motion then to appoint Cheryl as to the town accountant interview team to represent the finance committee?
So moved.
Thank you, EJ. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote, Frank?
Yes, Cheryl would be a good resource for that. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Jim?
Yes to Cheryl as the assigned finance committee member.
Thank you, Jim. EJ?
Yes to Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl.
Bill?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. Motion carries 5-0. And I echo the sentiments. Cheryl, thank you for stepping up and volunteering for that. So obviously more information to be provided by Cody, I guess, as that progresses further. All right, and then maybe just keep us updated, I guess, Cheryl, too.
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Happening. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. All right, so then moving forward, then there were no reserve fund transfer requests submitted. So I think we're good there for now. And actually, Sandy, you got all the signatures right from the last one there? Okay, great.
Did we fix
Sorry.
the account number on the last transfer?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so then the next item on the agenda was the committee liaison update. So I don't have any updates for the wage and personnel, Cody, but I was wondering if you or Sandy did in regards to the free cash figure, how we were progressing, I guess, with that.
Sandy can give us an update on that.
So I did an estimate, and we're still have to submit things to the state, but my estimate is it's not going to be, I think it's going to be around 650,000. That's just a quick estimate.
Okay. And when do you expect, I guess, that we would shore that number
I'm
up?
hoping to be able to get things into the state by the end of next week.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I guess, so once that's in place, obviously we'll have the follow-up session to go through, and Cody and Sandy, I guess you guys are working through your recommendations, right, based on the figure as to what you would recommend, I guess, for the capital improvements.
Yes, yeah. As soon as I have that figure, I've kind of have them ranked. but need that figure to give a formal recommendation.
Sure. No, absolutely.
What was the free cash last year?
A little over $1 million.
Yeah, it's been $1 million the last several years, I think, right, Sandy?
The last
Yeah.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's down, what, I guess 30%, I guess, or so, right?
Yeah, 35%.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that is impactful. There were some requests submitted, some of the big ones obviously were in regards to like the equipment, for the fire department and some other, and also some long-term projections, right? So one of the improvements that, that was well needed and overdue, which, Cody implemented was, the 5-year forward, look at coming capital requests. And there are some significant items kind of coming down the pike there that we need to kind of start thinking about and potentially maybe reserving some funds into an account that will cover some of those large ticket items. But with that being said, obviously it's challenging, right? When the number is, down 35%, right? So we do have some challenges there we need to kind of work through, but, a lot more details certainly will be shared once we have that all together and, we can take the committee through everything there. So,
Yeah,
so that's that.
tight.
So go ahead, Frank.
It's going to be tight the next few years here.
Several years, yeah,
Right.
it certainly is, yeah. Yeah.
So you got to think about the long term here.
Yeah, we should have been doing that for many years, right? And it just hasn't been the process, unfortunately. So it's kind of just, short term, looking at it from the
Right.
specific
Right.
year. But there are some things on the horizon that are some big ticket items that we definitely need to consider. So because those big ticket items exceed, I guess, the annual free cash, the amount that we would ever have in that specific fiscal year, right? So it requires a multi-year approach to address those. So.
Right.
All right, so that's that, I guess. So obviously, like I said, a lot more to come on, obviously, on the capital items. Anything else though from anyone else on the liaison updates? Anything material for anyone to share?
Nope.
No. Okay. All right. Next item was the correspondence and as may arise. Any other topics or anything anyone wants to cover for this evening? Any public participation? Anyone? No? Okay. All right. So then as far as the next meeting planning is concerned, I guess, so we kind of hit on some of it, but I'll kind of just summarize some of it because there are a number of meetings coming up, right? So we have the next meeting I have noted is for March 13th, which is the wage and personnel follow-up meeting. So that's obviously going to be in person at 6 p.m. Right?
Is that Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, yeah.
Yes.
I can make that. Okay.
Okay. Awesome. Yep. And I'll be there as well too. And apologize that I missed being able to attend the last session there. So that's 3/13. Beyond that, is the Mondays meetings, right? So 3/18, as we mentioned, right? So that will be, we're targeting the review of the school budget for that one, and then subsequent to that will be the March 25th Monday, 6 p.m. Zoom, regular finance scheduled meeting there, I guess. So for that one, though, I guess Cody, for the 25th, I guess that one, I guess we'll earmark as the finance committee kind of going through and approving all of the line items in the budget, right? On the 25th.
Yes. Yeah. We will need to.
Assuming that, obviously the big caveat being the school committee details are available.
Yeah, that is the last day we need because the selectmen actually have to approve the budget on the 26th.
On the 26th.
I mean, I'm sorry, approve the warrant on the 26th. So it's going to be, the 25th would be the very last. And then we have to get actually the warrant out to print the first week of April. So it's, coming up quick.
And the 26th as well is going to be a joint meeting, right? With us to review with the selectmen for that. Yeah. So that would be 6 p.m. on site, town hall.
Yes.
So 25th, 20th.
Yeah, back-to-back nights and that for that last week there. Monday the 25th, our normally scheduled finance committee meeting, and then the 26th in person at 6 p.m.
Is that wage and personnel on the 26th?
No, it's just a budget review. So we're just doing a joint budget review to finalize the process for this year. So that was one of the new items that Cody implemented as a overall process improvement. So
okay. So no meeting this coming Monday.
No meeting this coming Monday, the 11th. No, that was canceled. Yeah. So the next one will be the 13th for the wage and personnel, and then the 18th and 25th for our regularly scheduled finance committee
Okay.
meetings, and then closing it all on 26th with the selectmen. From there. So.
Okay.
That's selectmen meetings in person, Todd?
Yes. Yeah. 6 p.m. Yeah, for the Tuesday, the 26th. Yeah.
And the wage and personnel we're doing in person as well, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yep. Same time as well, 6 p.m. So
6 p.m. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's it. I guess anything else from the schedule? Everybody's good with those dates, I guess. Any concerns, as of now, I guess, any conflicts that anyone foresees with those meetings?
Yeah.
Take a quick look here, Todd.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Frank. It sounds like Cheryl's. Oh, actually, Cheryl, are you able to make that Tuesday meeting though? Didn't you say that Tuesdays and Thursdays are?
The 26th?
Yeah, is that one
Yes,
gonna
I
be okay
can.
for you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I'm good, Todd.
Okay, awesome, Frank. Thank you. All right, so yeah, we should be good as far as the quorum is concerned, so shouldn't be any concerns with there. All right, so I mean, I guess that brings us to the end of the agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Cheryl. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. Roll call vote, Frank?
Yes, to adjourn.
Tim?
Yes to adjourn.
EJ?
Yes to adjourn.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself is a yes as well. Motion carries 6-0. Meeting is adjourned at 7:48 p.m.
Thanks. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Thanks,
Good
everybody.
night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
You
You
too. Thanks.